I'm going to start by attempting to take you to Kashmir with a poem. You don't want to hear about the world's biggest democracy committing genocide against an indigenous population, nor its demographic threats to the children of disappeared fathers, likely tortured, killed, or laid to rest in mass graves. You don't want to hear about occupation, tyranny, disappearances. Hell, you still think Kashmir is a sweater or a Led Zeppelin song? Well, you're wrong. Kashmir is paradise on earth, but for those dwelling under the jackboots of an oppressor, it is hell. It's a living torture. But they fight and resist, not just with stones, but with life. Life becomes resistance. So when our rivers fill with blood and our youth are scattered dead across their banks, when our women are raped, hurt, psychologically tortured, they are not defeated. Another generation of lions rises. In Kashmir, our children don't taste childhood, they taste bullets because they are too short to be shot in the leg. Those who live suffer, physically and psychologically. Post-traumatic stress disorder becomes normal. Another day, another dead. Welcome to Kashmir, paradise on earth, somewhat more than a sweater or a Led Zeppelin song. Omay kind of introduced you to Kashmir earlier. She told you it's the world's most militarized zone, and that is true today. There are not as many soldiers of any nationality on the ground in any country as there are Indian soldiers on the ground in Indian-occupied Kashmir. There are numerous human rights abuses which have happened there, more so over the last 2 decades, and she spoke about the cases of over 10,000 graves. We have unmarked and mass graves being found in Kashmir all the time. We have cases of enforced disappearances, which is what I'm going to talk to you a little bit about before my next poem. So, 2 years ago, I was lucky enough to host Parveena Hunger here in London, and she is, without doubt, the most courageous and brave woman I have ever met. Parveena Hunger is the mother of a young boy who was enforcibly disappeared by the Indian state. So in August of 1990, her 17-year-old son was taken from his uncle's house by 3 Indian soldiers. To this date, he has never been returned. Parveena ji has searched the entirety of Kashmir. She has spoken to people in prison camps, in torture camps. She has been to army base camps. She has been everywhere where you would never want your mother to go. And she has asked all of the questions you would ask if your son was taken. And the Indian state was given as a resounding silence. They refused to accept accountability. In the one point where she was taken to a military tribunal, the Indian soldier who took her son offered her money in return for her silence, to which she says she doesn't want money, she wants Javed. So in 1994, Parveena Hunger set up an organization called the Association of Parents of Disappeared Persons, which kind of brought together all of the families who had suffered the same fate. And today they continue to campaign on this issue and carry it forward. And if anyone has any questions about them, I'd be happy to answer them at the end. And I have some posters which APDP made this year, and I'll be selling them, so if anybody would like to buy one, come and have a chat to me at the end. Before I start, a lot of us Kashmiris speak Kashmiri or Bahari, and when we talk Urdu, we sound a tiny bit bizarre because we have our own kind of Kashmiri twang to it, so people often ask me questions about that, so that is also linked to this poem. Your Urdu is not indigenous. Your intonation is not quite right. Somewhat too polite, yet you still sound aggressive. Where are you from? Main Kashmiruvan. And there is a woman 5.5 time zones away. Every tongue in my mouth I learned from a woman whose eyes could tear the land you stand on into 2. That is the price they have paid for a country whose borders were violated over and over again. A place maybe my mother's mother once knew to be safe. But we have only ever seen her ache, and that kind of courage hurts. I could only speak to you in a tone that did not sound like bones being ground under the weight of jackboots. Take that kind of liberty with words. If the sounds that echoed in the minds of the women who raised me did not sound like sword as they burnt it to the ground. Our children were inside those burning buildings. Don't tell me I sound aggressive. There is no other way to say this. There are flames at our ankles, landmines beneath them, gun barrels at our temples, and the footsteps of death echo beneath our breaths. There is a woman 5.5 time zones away. Her mother tongue is different to mine. A line stands between us, more militarized than any other place on the face of this earth. Such is our home. Yet she refuses to mourn for a son who was taken but not yet gone, torn from her bosom, but hearts beat on. And this hope drinks from the pain. Uncomfortable, bloated with the memory of life, stands firm with indignation. There is no truth quite like this. It stings. And this language, you tell me I do not speak quite right, fell from her lips just like this. Imperfect but flawless. A passion indigenous to her people relayed in a broken tongue, left me winded, wiping tears, gathering together the shards of broken news reports to piece together a language I only ever heard at 9 p.m. British time on a TV screen. I wanted to tell her something beyond the sharp edges of this language so shattered in my mouth. But somehow, she just knew. She took my hand, called me daughter. She is the only confirmation I have ever needed to feed this intonation that is not quite calm enough to be the right kind of indigenous for you. My people have no country. The jagged edges of this language taste like borders we do not know. Me Kashmiriwan, and there is a woman 5.5 time zones away. Me unna hulu urdu sequency. The day that collapsed lungs crashed into concrete and beating hearts met gun barrels, they called it conflict. I saw a nation hemorrhaging as a warrior whispered, where will we find souls to carry the martyrs at sunset? Petals that once floated across lakes, wings carrying hope to ease the sorrow had stopped. The fluttering had paused. So I wove tragedies they said did not belong to me around my wrists. Jewelry made of severed arteries, blood seeped through my fingertips. You could always taste it. It is familiar to tongues that soften English in indigenous languages born in conflict. Tongues that caress the names of the dead through the night so that they do not forget. And when morning comes, they know nothing but resistance. I envisage life in the organs scattered across the crimson earth because there is nothing poetic about a child's intestines weaving the tale of war across concrete where freedom was mutilated until blood-stained tragedies lined her lungs. But still, with her last breath, she choked on a promise that read, "Mother, one day we will line your veins with victory." So with trembling hands, I fell to the ground to make the word that his eyes would know when to take me by the hand and whisper, "Peace will come." Our footsteps tracing genocides that our people survived as we crossed landmines in the moonlight, because we would both have eyes that likened saffron to crimson rivers and not poetic landscapes, to the bloodshot eyes of the revolution and not romance over Nunjai. And he would tell me, one day a tyrant will set this poetry alight and he will taste your laughter as it seeps through his armor for the first time. Because words do not die, you cannot rape an idea nor murder this verse. So when bullets pierce flesh on the front line, it will be our poetry which seeps from the wound.